Your favorite radio station presents a holiday classic.
Attaboy, Clarence.
The 23rd anniversary edition of Christmas on the Radio.
God bless us, everyone.
Now the 2022 edition of Christmas on the Radio with your host, Wyatt Cox.
One of our annual traditions is a presentation of Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And although many people have performed, probably the best known is Lionel Barrymore. And we've had other people doing the Scrooge role. But here's an episode that is a little unusual. It is an episode of Theatre Royale, as it was originally broadcast on Christmas Eve 1956. The host and star of the show, and portraying Scrooge, is Sir Laurence Olivier.
The National Broadcasting Company presents transcribed Sir Laurence Olivier as your narrator and in the role of Scrooge in Charles Dickens' immortal story, A Christmas Carol.
Laurence Olivier. Over 100 years ago, in December 1843, Charles Dickens wrote this story. Since then, each year, countless millions have listened to or read what has become the world's most famous Christmas tale. The London from which I speak to you today differs in many ways, but in many other ways is much the same as the town Charles Dickens wrote about and loved so well. It still has its rain and fog, sudden, sharp spells of bright, frosty weather, its warm, lovable people, and above all, its spirit. That spirit immortalized forever as a Dickens Christmas. Listen then, in a moment, to his tale, A Christmas Carol. Was dead to begin with, dead as a doornail. There was no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial had been signed by Scrooge himself, and his name was good for anything that he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. But first let me tell you about Scrooge himself. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstones, he was. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, and stiffened his gait. He iced the office of his counting house in the hot days, and he certainly didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle? You don't mean that, I'm sure.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Tomorrow is Christmas Day. Come and dine with us.
I'll see you far enough. Good afternoon.
But why not? We've never had any quarrel, to which I've been a party.
Good afternoon.
Well, you'll be very welcome. Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon. At least Scrooge's nephew found his Christmas greetings cordially returned by Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchet, even though he was freezing to death in his unheated corner of the office and earned only 15 shillings a week. In showing the young man out, however, Bob Cratchet let 2 other people in. They were portly gentlemen and greeted Scrooge in a friendly way.
This festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, we like to make some provision for the poor and destitute. Many thousands are in want of common necessaries.
Are there no prisons?
Oh, plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
Oh, yes, indeed. But many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they'd rather die, then they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Oh.
Good afternoon.
Oh.
That was the way that Scrooge felt on Christmas Eve. At length, the hour of shutting up his counting house arrived. With an ill will, he dismounted from his stool and tacitly admitted the fact to his clerk, Bob Cratchet. You want the day off tomorrow, I suppose.
If quite convenient,
It's
sir.
not convenient, and it is not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound.
Well, it's only once a year, sir.
Bah! Humbug! Scrooge went off to his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers, went home to his bed. His house was old and dreary, and nobody lived in it but Scrooge, the other rooms being all let out as offices. As he opened the door, he suddenly started, for the door knocker seemed to leer at him through the fog, and the face of the knocker had changed to the face of his one-time partner, Jacob Marley. And Jacob Marley had been dead as a doornail for 7 years. Scrooge hurried up to his room and locked the door behind him. Gracious me, what's that? All the bells ringing this time of night? The clanking of heavy chains up the stairs, along the passage to the locked door of his room. A ghostly figure suddenly appearing through the door and standing there in front of him. No need to ask who it was. It was the ghost of Jacob Marley. Marley in his pigtail, usual waistcoat, tights and boots, clasping a chain about his middle, a chain made up of cash boxes, keys, padlocks, and heavy purses wrought in steel. But a Jacob Marley that was transparent.
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
You are fettered. What is that chain you bear?
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard, and of my own free will I bore it. Would you know the weight and length of the chain you bear yourself? It was full as heavy and as long as this, 7 Christmas Eves ago, and you have labored on it ever since.
Jacob, speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate, Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me, Jacob. Thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Haunted? I think I'd rather not be, Jacob.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first one tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Oh. Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and look that for your own sake you remember what has passed between us.
The spectre vanished. In fear and trembling, Scrooge undressed and went to bed. By the time he had fallen asleep, it was past 2 o'clock in the morning. When he woke, it was still pitch dark, but he heard the clock of a neighboring church distinctly striking 12. 12? Midnight? But heavens above, he'd slept the clock round almost twice. It was tomorrow night already, and when the clock chimed the next hour, the first of the 3 spirits would appear. Scrooge lay there in his bed in the dark and waited, considering that he could no more go to sleep than go to heaven. Suddenly, the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge, starting up in his bed, found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them back. Are you this spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past. Rise and come with me.
It was a strange figure that led him out into the night, clad in his slippers, dressing gown, and nightcap. A figure like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man shrunk to the size of a child. It wore a tunic of the purest white and carried a branch of fresh green holly in his hand. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, which was probably why it used in its duller moments a great extinguisher for a cap, which it carried the rest of the time under its arm. Why, I know this place. I was a boy here, and that house there, it's where I went to school.
Strange that you have forgotten it for so long. The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child is still there, neglected by his friends.
Is it me?
It was you, but listen.
Dear brother, I've come to bring you home for Christmas.
Home?
Yes, home for good and all. Home forever and ever. Father's so much kinder than he used to be that home's like heaven. Last night he said you might come home and send me in a coach to bring you, and we're to have the merriest time in all the world.
My little sister, she had a large heart. Poor little sister.
She died a woman and had children, I believe.
One child.
So, he's your nephew.
Dickens' Christmas Carol, as it was broadcast over Theatre Royale, December 24th, 1953. You're listening to Christmas on the Radio, and we continue in just about a minute. Brought to you in part by Medishare.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for healthcare, and here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join Medishare and save even more than usual. And it's true, the typical family switching to Medishare saves $500 or more a month, which is obviously huge for a lot of people, but what's more, they like it. Medishare has double the customer satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. There are 400,000 members. They've shared over $4 billion in medical bills, and it really is a great community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. And here's the thing. If you join Medishare Complete right now, they'll waive your new member fees, and you'll save an additional 10% off all of 2023. That's right. No fee to join, 10% off every month of next year, but it's a very limited time offer. You have to sign up before December 31st. Great savings, great healthcare. Find out more. Call now. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Harry Alan Towers, through his Towers of London program, produced a lot of syndicated fare that aired in the United States, one of which, Theatre Royal, was a show that was picked up in 1953 on the NBC radio network. This broadcast, starring Sir Laurence Olivier, earlier shows starred Sir Ralph Richardson, the Deans of English Actors. There you go. They don't get much better than that. Let's hear more of the Theatre Royale production as it aired on NBC Christmas Eve, 1953. Sir Laurence Olivier, Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
The spirit led him away, back through the night into the city they had left. It was plain enough by the brightly lit shop windows that it was Christmas time again. They stopped before a warehouse door.
Why, that's old Fezziwig's place, where I was apprenticed. And dear old Fezziwig, bless his heart, alive again.
Yo-ho there, Ebenezer. Dick, no more work tonight. It's Christmas Eve, young Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Here-o, clear away, my lads. Here-o, Dick. Cheer up, Ebenezer.
All was done in a moment. Everything moved out of the way. The floor swept and watered, the lamps trimmed, fuel heaped on the fire, and the warehouse turned into as snug and warm a ballroom as you could desire to see on a winter's night.
A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why isn't it? He's only spent some £3 or £4 of your mortal money. Does that deserve such praise?
It isn't that, Spirit. He had the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our service a pleasure or a toil. Oh, dear.
What's the matter?
Nothing particular. I should just like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now, Bob Cratchet. Yes, remove me from this place.
These are the shadows of things that have been. If they are what they are, don't blame me.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
The flame that burned so bright upon the spirit of Christmas past was more than Scrooge could bear. Seizing the large extinguisher that it carried, Scrooge pressed it violently down upon the spirit's head. But though he pressed it down with all his force, he could not hide the light which streamed in an unbroken flood upon the ground. Suddenly he realized that he was back in his own bedroom. He gave the extinguisher a final squeeze, reeled across to his bed, and sank into a heavy sleep. Awaking in the with a prodigiously tough snore, and sitting up in bed to get his thoughts together, Scrooge did not need to be told that the bell was again upon the stroke of 1. He felt that he was restored to consciousness in the nick of time for the special purpose of holding a conference with the second messenger dispatched to him through Jacob Marley's intervention. But this time he did not wait for the spectre to do it. He drew back the curtains of his bed himself. Being prepared for almost anything, Scrooge was by no means prepared for nothing. He lay there trembling in the dark until he noticed the light which shone beneath the door of his sitting room. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers towards the chink.
Come in, my good fellow. I am the ghost of Christmas presents. Look upon me.
Scrooge reverently did so. In easy state upon his couch, there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, which shed its light throughout the room. But what a room it had become! The walls hung with mistletoe and holly, a mighty blaze roaring up the chimney, and the floor heaped up with turkeys, geese, great joints of meat, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, and seething bowls of punch. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Then touch the robe.
Holly, mistletoe, turkeys, and plum puddings all vanished instantly, and out into the night they flew over the twinkling lights of the great city. It was a remarkable quality of the ghost that, notwithstanding his gigantic size, he could accommodate himself to any place with ease, and that he stood beneath a low roof quite as gracefully as in a lofty hall, which was just as well, for in a moment they were standing there in the dining room of Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchet, and his family.
Merry Christmas, all.
Merry Christmas. Now then, Belinda, take Tiny Tim and Martha and show them what they're going to eat for dinner. If that doesn't make their mouths water, nothing will. And how did little Tim behave at church, my dear?
As good as gold and better. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
The poor little mite. How good he is. Come along, all of you. Dinner's nearly ready, I'll be bound.
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Spirit, Tiny Tim is a cripple and so very pale and sickly. Tell me if he will live.
I see a vacant seat in the chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, no. Oh, no, kind spirit. Say he will be spared.
Why should he be? If he dies, it will decrease the surplus population.
Oh.
Now then, one and all, I give you a toast. Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here.
Oh, my dear, the children, and it's Christmas Day.
Oh, well, for your sake and the day's, then. Not for his. A Merry Christmas to him. He'll be very merry, I'll be bound.
Oh, that's better, my dear. To Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge.
I never knew that people could be so happy. But, Spirit, you're looking sad and old. Your hair has turned white.
It is nearly midnight, when I shall die and become myself no more than a shadow.
Who are those unhappy, frightened, cowering children there in rags behind you? Are they yours, Spirit?
They are mankind's. Their names are Ignorance and What. Beware of them, for they are vicious.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? Oh. Farewell.
The spirit of Christmas present had vanished. In its place there stood the last of Scrooge's 3 expected visitors, the ghost of Christmas yet to come. It was shrouded in a deep black garment which concealed its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. But unlike the other spirits, this one spoke never a word. Ghost of the future,
I fear you more than any other spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, lead on.
Again, the scene had changed. And now Scrooge found himself in the room of death itself. A pale light, rising from the outer air, fell straight upon the bed. And on it, plundered and bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of a man. A filthy old sheet lay over the face, and the phantom motioned to Scrooge to draw it back.
Oh, no, I dare not. This is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not leave its lesson, believe me, Spirit. Let me see some tenderness connected with the death. Please, I beg you, Spirit.
Poor little Tiny Tim. You went today again, Robert?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is, but you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. Poor Tiny Tim, my little child.
Poor little Tiny Tim. If only I'd known, Spectre. Something tells me our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me, what man was that whom we saw there lying dead?
The conclusion of A Christmas Carol from Theatre Royale starring Sir Laurence Olivier comes up following these important messages.
Christmas on the Radio continues, now with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Now the conclusion of A Christmas Carol, as it was originally broadcast on Theatre Royal, December 24th, 1953, starring Sir Laurence Olivier.
A gravestone? Before I read the name upon it, Spectre, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they shadows of the things that may be only? You do not answer, only point. And I must read the name upon this grave. Ebenezer Scrooge. No, Spirit, no. Spirit, hear me. I'm not the man I was. I'll not be the man I must have been but for this intercourse. Why show me this if I'm past all hope? Good Spirit, assure me that I may yet change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
And holding up his hands in one last prayer to have his fate reversed, Scrooge saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down to a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. A bright, shining morning, and the bells of the town pealing out there beyond his window.
Oh, how long have I been sleeping? What day of the month is it? Hey! What's today, my fine young fellow?
Day? Why, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day? I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night after all. Hello then.
Hello.
Do you know the poulterers in the next street? No, of course you do, an intelligent boy. Well, do you know whether they sold the big prize turkey they had there yesterday night?
It's hanging there now, mister.
It is? Then go and buy it. Here's a shilling. Come back with the man. Half a crown for you if you have that turkey in less than 5 minutes.
Right.
send it to Bob Cratchet, and he shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Too big for the boy to carry it there? Well, let him take a cab. ½ a crown for the cabbie and another shilling for the boy and his trouble. What was the name of the man who came round asking for a subscription? Well, I'll soon find out. And £100 for the poor when I do. No. Better make it 100 guineas. Only anonymously. Gracious, look at the time, and I haven't just shaved. I must hurry or I'll be late for that wonderful dinner with nephew Fred and his wife. I'll be round there in a twinkling, and won't they be surprised when I burst in shouting, "A Merry Christmas, everyone!" And won't Bob Cratchet be surprised tomorrow when I'm waiting for him there at the office and raise his wages on the spot? Oh, goodness, what have I done with my life till now? Was ever such a wonderful time of the year as Christmas?
Scrooge had no further need of intercourse with the spirit, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed that knowledge. May that truly be said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
Laurence Olivier again, speaking to you from London on Christmas Eve. Each of us here in the studio joins with me in wishing you a very happy Christmas. And in the words of Tiny Tim himself, God bless us, everyone.
Sir Laurence Olivier as the narrator and as Scrooge, Theatre Royal, December 24th, 1953, 69 years ago. You're listening to Christmas on the Radio. We continue in just a minute.
And here's the Cinnamon Bear.
The oldest known children's Christmas serial in radio history, The Cinnamon Bear, featuring some of the most popular actors in radio history, including Elliot Lewis, Joseph Kearns, Verna Felton, Lou Merrill, Frank Nelson, Howard McNear, and child actress Barbara Jean Wong. 85 years later, this series of Judy and Jimmy traveling to Maybeland to recover their silver stars still fascinates youngsters of all ages. Now we're offering the entire 26-episode series of The Cinnamon Bear via download for a Buy Me a Coffee donation of $10 or more at classicradio.stream. Support Classic Radio Theater and have The Cinnamon Bear for your family to enjoy for years to come. Go to classicradio.stream and donate $10 or more, and I'll send you a link for immediate download. classicradio.stream. The program guest star was a public service presentation of the Treasury Department, primarily to stimulate sales of war bonds and savings bonds. And now you're going to hear an episode of Guest Star going back to December 16th, 1951. That would be 71 years ago today. A gentleman that soap opera fans know, Macdonald Carey. He stars in this episode entitled Stand In for Santa.
The United States Treasury Department presents Guest Star with Harry Sosnick and the Defense Bonds Orchestra, yours truly, John Conte, and starring Macdonald Carey. How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is John Conte, your host for Guest Star, a transcribed feature for defense bonds presented by this station as a public service. Defense bonds are an investment in America's freedom and in your own security. Buy them regularly where you work or bank. Harry Sosnick and the Defense Bonds Orchestra raise the curtain on our show with Harry's interpretation of Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly. Our special guest, the popular star of motion pictures, Macdonald Carey. He appears in an original sketch by Harry Lawrence entitled Stand In for Santa. For the performance of Macdonald Carey, we take you to Hollywood and our narrator, Rod O'Connor.
The Yuletide music drifted in through the sleep-frosted windows and filled the editorial room of the Gazette with joyful carols. There was peace and kindness everywhere, except, of course, in the heart of Garson, city editor.
Oh, Chief, not on Christmas Eve. I'm a married man. I've got to get this doll home for my little girl.
Oh, Riley, you're breaking my heart. We got a tip on Willie Weston. The police think Willie's the man who bumped off Coco Jackson.
And they're hunting him, huh? You got a tip on where he's hiding?
Well, no. A tip on where his family is. Wife and kid. Now go to this address.
Oh, no. Way across town in the tenement district.
4th floor. If you can't get in the front door, the back fire escape goes up to one of the windows.
That's all. I just climb up to the 4th floor on an ice-covered fire escape in the middle of a blizzard. And if I don't break my neck, I may get shot.
Will you beat it? The police haven't got this address yet. Now get over there. Talk to Willie's wife or his little girl. Maybe they'll spill where Willie is, but get a story.
Christmas Eve.
A very poor time to get fired, my boy. On your way.
Okay. Third floor. One more. Wind. This is a living... What the... Beer cans. A booby trap. Uh-oh.
Get out of here! What are you doing up here?
I'm the fire escape inspector, lady. What's the idea of all these beer cans?
So we'll know when dopes like you come snooping around. That's the idea. Now go away.
All right. I'm going away as fast as I can climb.
I hope you break your neck.
One more floor. Christmas Eve. Nuts.
Hey, little girl. Hey, kid.
I want my daddy.
Well, I'll try to help you find your daddy.
Do you know where my daddy is?
Well, not exactly, honey, but I do want to talk to your mommy.
She's not here. And she told me not to let anybody in. That's Santa Claus. Are you Santa Claus?
Well, in a way, yes, I am.
Where's your white whiskers and your red suit?
Oh, well, that stuff is old-fashioned. I'm getting more up-to-date now, see?
Oh.
Will you let me in till your mama gets here?
All right. It's cold out there.
And how it's cold. Ah, this is better.
Did you bring me something, Santa?
Well, now let me see. Your name is,
Duty.
Well, let's look at my list here. Yes, sir. It says, Duty Weston has been a good little girl. And here's your present.
Oh, what is it? Oh, a dolly. A real dolly. For me?
For your very, very own, Duty.
Oh, thank you, Santa.
You deserve it, Duty. Your daddy has gone away, hasn't he?
Day before yesterday, 2 men came here to see him.
Huh?
A big, fat man with red hair and a little man with a crooked face.
Big Charlie and Limpy Lou? They came here?
Mm-hmm. Daddy brought out some glasses and they all had a drink. You know something? The big man put some medicine in Daddy's glass.
Medicine?
Oh, it smells like medicine. I've got the bottle. It fell out of his pocket. Here. See?
This bottle?
Mm-hmm.
Knockout drops. Some medicine. What happened after that, Duty?
Well, Daddy felt kind of sleepy, and they took him out for a walk. To wake him up, they said. He never came back. Mama says Daddy was framed. What's that?
Well, that means they've made it look like your daddy did something he didn't do. You know, your mom could be right.
My Mama's always right.
You bet. And you mind what she says, Duty. Now, honey, I've got to go. Got a long trip to make.
Wait, Mr. Santa. I want to give you something. Here's a picture of you my daddy drawed. Only it doesn't look much like you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's the way I used to look, Duty. With the whiskers and everything. Your daddy drew this?
Yes. He's a very good drawer.
Yes, it does. Say, from the way these lines run, I'd say he's left-handed.
Oh, yes. You see, his right hand was hurt in the war, and he can't hold on to things very well with it. So he has to use his left hand.
Oh, that's funny. That's very funny.
I don't think it's funny.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way, honey. Well, so long. Be a good girl until next Christmas.
Wait a minute. You're not Santa Claus. Not really. Are you?
Well, what makes you think I'm not?
Because if you really, truly are Santa Claus, you'll bring my daddy back. You know that's what I want the most.
No, Duty, honey. I'm not promising anything, but don't give up hope. Maybe I can bring him back at that. And Merry Christmas, Duty. Lieutenant Bishop here? Oh, there he is. Hey, Bish.
Well, Mr. Riley, you ought to be home tonight with the wife and kiddies.
Tell that to my city editor. Have you picked up Willie Weston?
Not yet.
Willie didn't do it, Bish. He was framed.
Now, look, lay off of that Christmas eggnog, Riley. Willie was seen leaving the room, and the murder gun had Willie's autograph on it. 4 good prints of his right hand.
His right hand? That does it, Bish. Willie was left-handed.
Says you.
His right hand was injured in the war. He can't use it well. He certainly couldn't shoot a gun with it.
What are you trying to sell me?
Medicine. Take a smell of this bottle.
Chloral hydrate.
They doped Willie with this. Then they put the gun in his hand. But 2 things went wrong. Willie woke up and got away, and they put the gun in the wrong hand.
You keep saying they did. Come on, who?
Big Charlie and Limpy Lou.
You know, I thought there was something screwy about this thing. Willie's a small-time punk, not a killer.
Right. So pick up Limpy. He's the weak sister of the 2. Show him this bottle. If that doesn't make him sing, I'll buy you a Christmas dinner.
Are you telling me what to do?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you got something. We'll see.
If it does pan out, though, it's my story, Bish. I'm giving you a swell break.
Who do you think you are, Santa Claus?
You know, I wouldn't be at all surprised.
You finally got back, Riley. Well?
Chief, that was the coldest fire escape this side of Alaska.
Did you talk to Willie's wife?
She wasn't there. I didn't talk to Willie either.
Well, what did you do?
Oh, I played Santa Claus to a sweet, lonely little girl.
Oh, ye gods and little fishes. The man wants to write a sob story. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Hey. Well, go ahead. Get out of here and write it.
I'm, waiting for a phone call. Lieutenant Fisher.
Oh, yeah, he phoned a minute ago. Said to tell you that Charlie and Louie are singing a beautiful duet. Some of your drunken companions, I suppose. What are they singing, Christmas carols?
No, Mr. Garson. They're confessing the murder they framed Willie Weston for. And after I bat out the story, I'll have to climb that cold fire escape again to tell a little girl her daddy will be home for Christmas. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Now, you get on the phone and square things with my wife, will you? And you might tell her Santa Claus won't be home till morning.
That was a fine performance, Macdonald Carey.
I'm glad you liked it, Rod. I enjoyed doing it. And incidentally, before I go, I'd like to have just a minute to say something about defense bonds.
You've got it, Mac.
Well, I've been buying bonds for a long time because I believe in them as a safe, sure investment and an ideal way to save. But today, there's another very important reason for buying defense bonds regularly. Our dollars in defense bonds help to keep our country financially strong, to carry the load of defense expenditures. They help to curb further inflation. And as always, they're a step toward personal security and independence.
Yes, Mac, and let me remind our listeners of the two simple automatic plans for buying defense bonds, the payroll savings plan or the bond-a-month plan, the free service of your bank.
Either way, friends, you're investing in America's defense and your own future security. So be practical. Buy defense bonds regularly.
Sound advice, Macdonald Carey, and thanks again for being with us.
During the past quarter hour, you have been listening to Guest Star, a transcribed feature for defense bonds, presented by this station every week as a public service. May I express our thanks to our star, Macdonald Carey, for a fine performance, and to his supporting players, Frank Nelson, Ann Stone, Ann Whitfield, and Gerald Moore, and to his director, Louis Graham. Next week, we'll have another of your favorite stars and more fine music by Harry Sosnick and the Defense Bonds Orchestra. Meanwhile, this is John Conte saying so long, reminding you to save for America's defense and your own future security. Buy United States Defense Bonds.
Public service has been radio's credo for, 80 years? Now, of course, the main reason for radio stations to exist is to make money. But in the process, they provide a lot of service for local communities. And shows like Guest Star gave us entertainment and reminded us to protect our country and to save money and buy United States savings bonds. So there you go. December 16th, 1951, Guest Star here on Christmas on the Radio. Like to give a thank to this radio station and their local advertisers who make it possible for us to be here with you. And we also have a web page that you need to know about. That is at classicradio.stream. If you enjoy these great old shows, you can stream all of our shows on demand. You can learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links, and you can also contact me. That all is at classicradio.stream. Hope you will visit the page. On many of these stations, we have another hour straight ahead. If you were with us next hour, we look forward to the pleasure of your company. If you leave us at this time, please accept our warmest wishes for a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous 2023.